So let's talk about all of this with CNN aerospace analyst Miles O'Brien. So Miles, very tough to crack inside what is going on as far as how Moscow is investigating this crash. But from what we do know that they have had access now and have found the black box recordings. What, if anything, can they tell us about this incident? And do you think a flight manifest would even be available?
Well, these are all important questions. What the authorities on the ground there may be able to discern and what the rest of the world will know could be two very divergent things. In cases like this, where there is the high probability of a shoot down, there's an awful lot you can learn, Bianna, just by looking at the metal. Which way did it fail? Was it bent inward or outward? Inward would suggest air surface to air missile. Outward would suggest some sort of explosive on board the aircraft. Those kinds of things don't require black boxes, but what we do need is public disclosure in a candid way, and I'm not sure we're going to get that.
Yeah, good luck getting that from the Russians. It is interesting that the Ukrainians have been silent on this. The big issue, though, it appears for them, is who was on board, whether that was a legitimate target in their view, taking down a Russian plane inside of Russia, or was this a tragic error if, in fact, there were Ukrainian POWs on that flight? So we will continue to follow that developing story. Let me bring you back to the U.S. here and the scandal over Boeing. So we know the FAA had halted the 737 MAX production expansion, but it also cleared the 737 MAX 9 inspection instructions, paving the way for the planes to be ungrounded in the coming days. How should we interpret that?
Yeah, it seems like it's going in two separate directions, Bianna, but there is a 12-hour process of inspecting these aircraft to make sure they're safe to fly for now. And I think that's probably going to be okay. That'll probably make those aircraft safe enough. And certainly that door, which blew out on January 5th on the Alaska Airlines flight, that would certainly be double, triple checked and secured. The larger issue of Boeing's ramp up of production speaks to the overall picture here, that this particular event is part of a continuum and part of a series of problems with the 737 MAX, the 787, all kinds of issues that Boeing has had to contend with over the past few years. And it raises fundamental questions about what corners may be cut on the factory floor there as this manufacturer tries to produce 737s and meet market demand. So I think it's a wise thing for them to stand down. And I do think that the FAA really needs to think about having actual inspectors on the factory floor in greater numbers. As you well know, Bianna, over the years, they've had these designated inspectors who are Boeing employees who work ostensibly on behalf of the FAA. There's obviously a fundamental conflict of interest there.
Yeah, the FAA is known to be the gold standard in air traffic security around the world, and obviously we cannot risk losing that as well. So every precaution still needs to be taken, though we should note Alaska said it would resume the 737 MAX 9 flights this Friday. United plans to return the planes to service beginning on Sunday. Miles O'Brien, haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.